Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio NBA Closing Time Show. It is Friday, January the 8th. It's the end of the week edition of the show. And a Friday NBA card usually means we're going to have a pretty busy slate of games. And we definitely have that tonight. Skee Prophet, Conor Mack alongside. Let's get right to it because this is a big card on tap tonight. 10 games all together on the NBA board. Let's start with the Phoenix Suns taking on the Detroit Pistons. Phoenix, 7.5, 8-point road favorites here. At the Pizza Box, Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. The total, 216.5 in this game. This is one of the games I really didn't have much interest in. Phoenix is certainly the better of these two teams. You love the way they've started this season, 6-2. Chris Paul's made a difference for this team running the point. No question about that. All the experience and still can play at a pretty good level defensively, both ends of the floor. Very impressed with Devin Booker. DeAndre Ayton as well, I think is progressing still as that dominant center that I think he can still get to another level, but he's had a nice start to the season as well for the Suns. Just playing good basketball. They've responded well to maybe slowing down the tempo a little bit, playing better defense, although they played really damn good offense the other night in their last win against Toronto. That was a 3-point barrage from the perimeter assault essentially on the Toronto Raptors. They shot a ridiculous percentage from a long range in that game, the Suns. So it might be difficult to duplicate that kind of efficiency from the perimeter in this game against Detroit, even though this is a Detroit team that's in the middle of a rebuild, a young group, a team that's having their share of struggles this year. Maybe I lean under the total a little bit in this game, if anything. The total right now, 216.5 currently. It's already been bet down a little bit. I can't imagine Phoenix shooting the ball as well as they did against Toronto, and their defense is probably going to make it challenging on Detroit to find.
You go out.
Oh, there we go.
Are we back? There we go. We're back. Okay.
Back.
I lean Phoenix and I lean under the total here.
Fade now, brother.
I'll give my opinion on this game really quick.
Go ahead, Skee. Okay. Go ahead.
Phoenix, they're a good team. They've been playing well. I'm liking everything they're doing. I like Chris Paul over there. But I just don't think this is a good spot for them. I think they play again tomorrow. Chris Paul, if they're up by a good amount, you can see Chris Paul and some of these other guys just start to sit out the rest of the game, and maybe Detroit makes a push at the end. Detroit has been covering numbers lately. They covered 3 of the last 4. They've been playing good teams. They played Milwaukee. They played Milwaukee twice. They covered once. They lost once. And they played Boston. They beat them outright once, and they covered the other time. I think they lost by 2 points. So despite their roster being bad, despite them only having 1 win, they've been covering numbers. And this is just not the number that I want to be laying with Phoenix. So I'll lean on Detroit here. And if I'm playing the total, if I think Detroit's going to stay in it, they also allow a lot of points. I know Phoenix doesn't play very fast, but Detroit's allowing 119 points per game. So I think it can sneak over the total in this one. Detroit and over is my lit. What about you, Conor?
Yeah, I think it could sneak over too. Initially, the Suns have been playing unders except the other night, as Ian talked about. I'm with you. This is creeped up. I'm waiting on Derrick Rose. I think he plays. It's just saying he's a game time decision. I think he's going to go. I like the Pistons here, getting +8, as you said. The Suns is kind of a trap game. Go out on, East Coast trip. Well, they're heading that way. They got the Pacers on deck, right? They play tomorrow night. Just kind of in between game. And like you said, Suns can get up, rest guys late. I think the Pistons small play here. I like them, or maybe an end game if you don't love it. I just think the number, everyone's loving the Suns. I like the Suns a lot. I've been on the bandwagon with a lot of other people. But man, elite, these are starting to get big time spread. You know what I mean? You're creeping up 8, 9 on the road. I lean Pistons here +8, and that total initially, like I said, the under, but I like the Pistons defense isn't very good. I see it could go over, as you were talking about. It could tumble over that 216 Skee. So there we go. Back, brother.
There we go. I know. Well, I got my internet upgraded, I thought, last Saturday. And since it's been upgraded, there's been these little 1 minute, 2 minute segments where it drops out. Like, it doesn't happen a lot, but it's like once or twice every 24 hours it does this. But it's not. I'll be back. I'm not abandoning you guys. I know I'll be back. It's just usually it takes a minute or two. But we're back now. I think they just finished Phoenix, Detroit. It sure sounded like it. So yeah. I think we can move on to the next game. I don't have anything other than a lean to the under in this game. Charlotte and New Orleans. Pelicans, 7-point favorites, 218 the total in this one. How about Charlotte? Very nice win for them against Atlanta, who have sort of tailed off a little bit. This Hawks team, very heavily hyped coming into the season. I had high expectations for them, and they've sort of fallen back down to earth at least a little bit, Atlanta, the last few games. Charlotte taking advantage of that. They bounced back from a couple of blowout losses to Philly. I don't know if I trust Charlotte to withstand prosperity, though, of a win against Atlanta the other night I think, look, this should be a thoroughly PO'd, upset, angry New Orleans squad with what's happened the last two games. Blew it against Indiana. A bad second half against Oklahoma City the other night. How's Oklahoma City end up coming back and having an offensive just explosion, essentially, against this Pelicans team? So all of a sudden we've been revering the improvement in this team defensively, and the focus they've shown at that end of the court hasn't been there in the second half the last couple of games. Hopefully it's there tonight, because I'm going to look toward maybe laying the points here with New Orleans. I'm not sure I trust Charlotte here to keep it going after beating Atlanta. Let's forget. I really expect the Pelicans to put their best foot forward. 48 minutes of basketball could be enough to win this game, cover this number. As far as the total goes, I mean, I know I've been looking to make a case for New Orleans under the total quite a bit this year, but a couple of games in a row now have gone over for them. And Charlotte is a team I'd rather bet over than under with that team. They can score, but I don't like their defense very much. So I'd lean over the total, but I like to lay the points here with New Orleans here. I think the spot just screams circle the wagons time, as our old pal Teddy Covers would say, with the New Orleans Pelicans here, -7 in this one. Conor, what do you think here with Charlotte and New Orleans?
Yeah, this is kind of a weird spot. I'd lean a little bit with this. Was the game I didn't really like. I'd lean under with these two teams. New Orleans has scored a little bit. Their pace has been up a little bit better the last few games. But I take the points here with the Bobcats. I know they just won, but I'd lean that way. This is one I just really didn't love either way. I take the points with the dog. As you see, it's going to be the LaMelo, the brothers are going to be playing their first game, so I'm sure that's all pumped up. So I don't know. I take the points here with the Hornets. That's my only lean.
You're thinking of 2011 NBA, Conor, because you said Charlotte Bobcats there. So,
oh, did I?
Yeah.
My bad. Hornets.
There you go.
My bad.
Go ahead, Skee. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, he was taking me back. I think it was Emeka Okafor. I forget who else played.
My bad.
The Bobcats.
I guess they've changed names, so my bad. Hornets.
You know,
oh shit.
Pelicans. They haven't been able to close games.
Yeah.
They have two big problems. Or at least the two main problems in my mind. And one is they don't start out games very well, and they don't close games. If they could just have the middle part, that would be awesome. But for that reason, I don't really like laying a 7 with them. With that said, I mean, going back to last year, when they were favored of 4 or more, they covered 70% of the time. And that's including some of the ones they lost this year. So the only problem is they're not a team that shoots it well. And when you don't do that, it's kind of hard for me to trust you to win by close to double digits. Last year, they were a lot better shooting team. JJ, I know he was questionable. I saw he got upgraded to probable, so that's probably good for them. And Melly will also be out there available to play. So they have 2 shooters in those guys at least. I lean on the Pelicans, but my number for this game is 5. I just think that it's a little bit too high. I would look for in-game to play the Pelicans second half. Like I said, the first half, they were near the bottom of the league as far as differential. So second half would be where I look for them to strive. And on the total, I think I disagree, Ian. I like the under in this one. Pelicans not playing at a very fast pace. Charlotte does play at a faster pace, but neither team's offense has been really clicking. And both teams have been playing very solid defense last 5 games. So I like the under 218 in this one.
Yeah, well, hopefully New Orleans, yes, they need to shore things up after what I saw the other night defensively against OKC. Hopefully they do that. I like the side more than the total here, but New Orleans -7. You could argue it's a little bit pricey, and this team has struggled in terms of full game performance. But I would think after two very frustrating, aggravating losses that could have easily been games they won, the Pelicans, that you get their best. And if they are 48 minutes of effort tonight and focus, execution, both ends of the floor. We saw what happens when teams show up against Charlotte. You can win by double digits against them. So hopefully that's the case here tonight with New Orleans.
Before we move on, Trent's in the comments. He says Jeremy Grant over 20. And I would agree before we get too far away from that Pistons game. I think the only time he didn't score 20 points was the first game. So I think that's a good look.
He's been filling it up. He's gotten more minutes, more responsibility with the Pistons. Not that he didn't with Denver, but he's higher up the depth chart on a team like Detroit than he is with Denver. So as a result, he's got more floor time, more of an impact, gets the ball in his hands more. And as a result, he's been totally undervalued from a player prop standpoint in terms of total points. And I know a bunch of people that have been feasting on Jeremy Grant over points props early in the season. And it's been low. It's been in the teens. They're finally getting it up into the 20s now with him. But I think it's still low 20s. There's still a little bit of value to keep riding that train if you've been doing so with Jeremy Grant. I agree, over his point props. Next up, we've got Washington and Boston here. Celtics 4.5-point home favorites, 236 the total. Doesn't this smell like a really, really tricky spot for Boston, for as nice as the run has been for them the last couple of games? They beat Toronto pretty convincingly, a team that they've got history with, a team that they played in the playoffs last year. And then they played another team they played in the playoffs last year, that much anticipated. We mentioned it, looking for playoff revenge against Miami the other night, and they pretty much control the game, to be honest, from start to finish. And then Peyton Pritchard, you talk about a guy that could be undervalued from a prop standpoint. This guy at Oregon was a great player. He is a leader. He is a guy that busts his tail every time he's out on the floor. And people were thinking maybe when they drafted him, Boston, wait a minute, he was great at college, but look at him. Does he look like someone that's going to contribute big time in the NBA level? Well, this guy just is able to get every ounce of his ability out of his body. And you're already seeing signs of that with him with Boston. So keep an eye on Peyton Pritchard here, the rookie for the Celtics. He's getting minutes. Brad Stevens already trusts him. Look, Brad Stevens had him out on the floor with a chance to take the lead with that game-winning possession the other night against Miami. And sure enough, he gets the putback to get the victory for the Celtics over the Miami Heat. There's a guy that might be undervalued from a prop standpoint. But Boston in this spot against Washington, it's tricky. Played a lot of games. They're returning home. They've been on the road for a little bit as well. It looks like they've got a couple of absences here, particularly in that low post area. Robert Williams, Tristan Thompson. There's a bunch of guys there that look like they're out tonight for the Boston Celtics. So they could be a little bit depleted tonight in terms of the interior of this Celtics team. So something to watch out for tonight. Washington, it wasn't pretty, but their effort against Philadelphia the other night was commendable. They just barely snuck inside the number against Philadelphia, but they did. So you got to give them a little bit of credit for that. It's a team that doesn't play very good defense, obviously, and you're seeing the fact that Washington has just been an over machine by the fact that this total is now 236 in some spots, which is a damn high total. But I'd be petrified, absolutely petrified, to bet this game under the total with what I've seen out of the Washington Wizards so far. I wouldn't talk anyone out of Washington here. It's tricky because, can they step up against a team like Boston? But it's just not a very, very good bet on spot, in my opinion, for the Celtics. Sometimes with these good teams, you're going to get games where they just fall flat. The energy's not there. I worry this could be one of those situations here for the Boston Celtics tonight. So for me, it would be dog and over if I'm betting this game. Connor, what's your thoughts here? Washington, Boston.
I agree with you. It's a tricky spot. The Celtics played the Heat in a couple of days, and they just played that revenge game they wanted on them so bad the other day.
I hadn't even looked ahead to their schedule, Connor. So their next game after tonight's Miami. Wow, and they just played Miami. This is just this lowly old Washington team after playing in Miami and then having to play Miami again in the next game. So that's tricky. I worry about that.
Yeah, and you nailed it. I think the Wizards will be able to get to the bucket with those big guys out, with Grant and Thompson out. And no way, even though it's gone up to 236, take the over. I don't see. I mean, there are always bad shooting nights in the NBA, but like you said, Ian, I don't want to hold the ticket with an under. So I like the over as well, and I like the Wizards a little bit. I liked it better at 5.5. It's dropped to 4.5. I lean that way with the Wizards at plus 4.5.
And sometimes you can't be scared of these teams that aren't playing defense when these totals are 230s. Because I had Minnesota and Portland over the total last night, and that thing just soared well over that number. I had the Spurs and Lakers over the total last night because I thought the Laker defense they'd have a laissez-faire attitude on the defensive end of the basketball court last night, the Lakers.
Yep, that creeped over.
That was we're not going to really bust our tail defensively last night, the Lakers, and they showed it. So that was kind of my thinking with the over with San Antonio last night. And same with this. I mean, I can't make a case for the under, even though this total is sky high. Skee, what's your thoughts here? Wizards, Celtics.
I pretty much agree with everything you guys said. For the most part, no way in hell that I'm touching another under in the Washington game. I thought that maybe Philly could play some defense, but it's not going to happen. Washington's not going to play defense, and they're going to run up and down.
Yeah.
And Boston, I think they don't play at a very fast pace, but they'll be comfortable playing at whatever pace their opponent is playing at. That's how I look at Boston. So only way I'm playing this one is the over as far as the total. And on the side, I mean, I'm not scared. I'm on this one. This is probably my favorite play of the day. Celtics, like you guys said, they're looking forward to beating up on Miami with the playoff revenge. And they play Miami again next. So this could be a game that they're looking over. And Boston is a team that plays good versus competition, and they kind of just lollygag versus the lesser teams. They're 0-2 this year so far against 45% when teams are less. And the Wizards are the opposite. Wizards, I mean, I don't have the numbers for last year, but back to last year, they show up against competition. And this year, so far, they're 2-0 against 55% when teams are better. They're 4-0 against the spread on the road. And why does it stink so much? Because it's a bad spot for the Celtics. They just played 4 games on the road, and they're coming back home. That's not a team you really want to be backing. So, and then lastly, I think it was Ian who mentioned it, the COVID issues. Boston doesn't have any big men. They're going to be extremely small, and it's going to be easy to score. So Washington and over.
I think you're going to see some Taco Fall tonight. That's the positive of all these injuries for the Celtics in the front court with at the center position, the 5 spot in particular. Tristan Thompson and Robert Williams out. You got Daniel Tice and Grant Williams is out too. So Daniel Tice and Taco Fall is probably going to see some playing time. The big 7-footer out of Central Florida, the college basketball bettors and fans will remember him well from there. It's probably going to have to get him on the floor at least a little bit tonight. You can't have Daniel Tice playing all 48 minutes. So, yeah, there's some limitations now with options for Brad Stevens down low tonight. So we'll see how he manages that situation. Oklahoma City and New York. The New York Knicks. It's pretty cool to be talking about the New York Knicks as a halfway competent basketball team, at least so far. It's only been, still a couple weeks.
It's early.
Let's see where they are. Exactly. That's kind of what I'm saying. I'm like, cool it, Knicks fans. Let's see where you are in March and April. And if you're still a pretty good record at that time, then we'll talk. But right now, we'll give them credit for what they've done to this point. 2.5 point home favorites, 2-11.5 the total in this game. I think this is the first time the Knicks have been chalked this year. I think so. I'd have to go back and look, but I don't think the Knicks have been favored before tonight. So they're getting the betting market respect now. People are taking notice of the New York Knicks and what they've done. And I'll be honest, thank goodness I had the common sense, and I don't always have that. I'll be the first to admit that. But I had the common sense the other night to take Utah first quarter and first half against the New York Knicks. And my gosh, thank God I made that decision and said not the full game. Because it was just a dreadful second half for the Utah Jazz against New York. A Utah Jazz team that got their ass handed to them the night before by Brooklyn, and they end up letting the New York Knicks come all the way back to win that game. It was an impressive job by the Knicks. But are the Knicks ready to be favored? I lean New York here. I'm not stepping in front of New York. They got a little momentum. They don't think they're bad now. they're not playing like they're a bad basketball team right now. Maybe they still will be a bad team down the road, but right now they're playing with that confidence, that energy. Julius Randle's been excellent. RJ Barrett now, I think, a lot more comfortable as well for the Knicks. Hell, even Kevin Knox is staying healthy and doing some things for the Knicks as well. So there's a lot to like, and they're playing defense. And that's, as much as I'm not a big Thibodeau guy, they've bought in at that end of the basketball court, and they are, top 5 defensive efficiency team in the NBA. It's hard to believe that can sustain itself for the full season. So in this particular situation, I'd be reluctant to go against the Knicks. I lean in that direction. I'm probably just going to bet the total, though. I think the total makes sense to go under this number with OKC and New York. I mean, the OKC, to me, offensively, were pretty good in the second half against the Pelicans, but they're not an offensive team that I fully trust. And in this particular situation here, Oklahoma City, I think they're going to struggle to score points against this Knicks defense. I think on the flip side, you could see New York challenged a bit more by OKC, who defensively might be able to keep them in check a bit. So for me, it's a lean New York, and I like this game under 212. Connor, what's your thoughts here? OKC, New York.
Yeah, we'll see the Knicks favored by 2.5. It's probably been a long time, since I've seen that. I'm with you. I like the under here. Both teams are really good defensively. At times, that both teams can struggle to score. So I'm on the under here. With the Knicks, I lean a little bit, but I just don't love it. Like you said, bunch of guys, game time decisions. Toppin's out. Some of these guys will play Knox, Bullock. They're game time decisions. Noel. So we'll see. Stay on top of that if you're betting the Knicks. But that's it. I would just lean the Knicks. But I'm on this under. I think both teams are going to have a hard time scoring here.
Yeah, I think the New York Knicks can win the game, but the problem is we're used to getting, as an underdog, getting a sizable amount of points. You're not getting that here. They've got to not only win the game, but they got to win the game by a full possession, essentially, 3 points or more. So it's a little bit more tricky. Are they ready to be favored? We'll find out. Skee, what's your thoughts here? Thunder and Knicks.
I'm not running to the window to back the Knicks. Matter of fact,
yeah,
I'll look at the other side. I mean, back OKC last year, they're not the same team as last year, but last year they were a great team on the road. This year they're 3-1 against the spread on the road. And when they're on the road, one day's rest or more, going back to last year, 23-7-1. That's what I have against the spread. When they're a dog between 1 and 5 with 1 day or less rest, 15-1 against the spread. I mean, I haven't seen enough from the Knicks. I mean, I've seen OKC. I think the Pelicans are a better team than the Knicks. I'll say that. I know they haven't been closing games and doing that, but I still think they're better. And we saw OKC beat that team. So I just don't think the Knicks should be favored. I respect what OKC's done on the road, and I would side with OKC on the total. I don't see either team scoring a crazy amount of points. I would trust the defense more than the offense from both. And I don't expect a fast-paced game, so I like the under as well.
All right, leaning Thunder here, plus the 2.5 here, and the under as well for Skee.
I thought you said the Pelicans, Skee. I thought I heard you say the Pelicans.
No, I referenced them. Just
you called it did a fucking like me. All right,
because OKC beat the Pelicans last
Connor
time.
needs someone else to make a name slip up here. Like you did earlier with the Bobcat.
Shit.
Let's make sure. Here we go. Utah's. I like to do the little Tribe Called Quest thing with the Utah every now. We got the Jazz. Utah taking on Milwaukee. We've got Milwaukee 5.5-point home favorites, 231 the total in this game. Boy, Utah. Are you really going to be this kind of erratic, schizophrenic, underachieving team again? Underachieving mess again, like you were at times last year? Maybe, because the last 2 nights have not been pretty. Blown out by Brooklyn, lose a great first half, and then just either fall asleep or just don't play well in the second half. I'm not sure which against the New York Knicks, but real ugly on the defensive end of the court in the second half. The offense slowed down, stopped working against New York as well. Both ends of the floor, just not good. Very ugly at both ends of the court in the second half. Now you got to play this Milwaukee Bucks team that is now going to be obviously a challenge after what's happened the last couple of games. I think Utah, again, when they show signs of these problems that just arise where they're just not playing fluid basketball either end of the floor, like they did in the second half, particularly against New York, getting blown out by Brooklyn. These are alarming results, and for a team, this is beyond not playing 48 minutes of basketball. This is a team really struggling to play well for a 48-minute game right now. So for me, it would only be a look to the Bucks here in this game, -5.5, with Utah clearly going through some issues here with their play, really throughout most of the season, to be honest with you, but especially these last couple of games. Those are red flag performances, in my opinion, from the Utah Jazz, what we've seen from them this week. Connor, what's your take here on Jazz Bucks?
Yeah, like you said, Jazz. Their road woes continue. Just over the years, especially the last few years, they're not very good on the road. I like to fade them. I think it's a little bit of a discount here with the Bucks at -5.5. I like them in the spot. I think it can go over as well. I like the side better. The Jazz are a team, they need to get hot shooting threes. To me, they get very stagnant. They don't get to the lane, and they don't shoot enough free throws. They play very bland, and they need to be hitting those shots. And when they get hot, they get hot. I've seen them, they get really hot. I think the Bucks here are just the spot at home, and I think it's at 5.5. I'm going to take it. The Jazz got to get it right, though. They have 5 more games on the road after this, or they got the Cavs, Pistons, Cavs, and Wizards. Easier schedule, but those are games they need to win on the road coming up, where or they're in real trouble. So a real long road trip here. I don't see it tonight. I'm going to take the Bucks -5.5.
All right, like in Milwaukee, -5.5. That's the way I'd go as well. Skee, what's your thoughts here, Utah, Milwaukee?
Don't trust the Jazz. I think it's that simple. Jazz versus good teams, you cannot trust them. Versus 50% win teams are better than 3-14. Their last 17. Joe Ingles is questionable. It's their 3rd game in 4 nights, 4th game of a 7-game road trip. I know the line is short because Milwaukee plays tomorrow, and I always talk about I don't really trust Milwaukee at the end of games anyway. If I'm playing, I'll be playing Milwaukee on the first half, and on the total, we know Milwaukee plays fast. I think Milwaukee, they'll play at Milwaukee's pace, and I don't see Utah stopping them from scoring. So I like the over. I think it can still get over and Milwaukee first half.
All right, so Milwaukee first half, I believe that probably you can get that around -3 right now with the Bucks first half, and over for the full game, which is around 231, 231.5. Orlando, Houston, we've got Houston bet up from 4.5 to 6.5 point home favorites here. 222.5 the total in this game. Certainly lots of reaction to the Orlando injury situation. We know Evan Fournier questionable, Aaron Gordon already ruled out for tonight. The just crippling injury suffered by Markelle Fultz. You hate to see that. Obviously, the last game for Orlando against Cleveland had to be helped off the floor. Just an unfortunate injury, abs, and a big blow to this Magic team. Torn ACL in his knee in that victory they had against Cleveland. But even with the injuries, this always is one of those situations, and I've learned this the hard way in my earlier days, and now I don't do it. When I see the betting markets just rushing to bet one side because the other team's got a couple of key injuries, and there are on Orlando, obviously. No Gordon, no Fultz, no guarantee Fournier plays either, and everybody just rushes to bet the other side. And you're seeing that again here with betting this Houston Rockets team tonight up to 6.5. And granted, Houston is probably the better of these two teams, but don't tell Orlando that they were supposed to be a team that might fall out of the Eastern Conference playoffs this year, because they haven't played like it. 6-2 straight up, 6-2 against the spread. They've been a moneymaker for their.
I'm seeing if he's going to come back in.
Cutting out again. You want to go ahead, Skee, or you want me to go?
I'll go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's out now. So Orlando. Oh no, there we go. Ian's back.
There we go. I'm back. Yeah, just there's signs that Houston is just going to need some time to be able to find their footing with a new coach, with Harden in and out. John Wall now on this team, a lot of new faces, and it's taken this team time. I'm not involved in the steam upward in this number to Houston. In fact, now that it's 6.5, I'm on the Orlando Magic here, plus 6.5. I know Fultz being out is significant. We may not see Fournier, we won't see Gordon, but first game without a key guy, you see it all the time. Teams respond. I think Houston, it's going to be difficult for them to beat anybody by margin right now. They just seem a little bit out of sync. I like Orlando here, plus the 6.5. Going against this team. And again, kind of like with Brooklyn, Philly last night, everybody loved Philly once the Nets key players were out and the Nets end up getting it done. These are good angles. They've worked. You go against the narrative that the team with the injuries can't win, can't cover. And that's exactly what I'm doing right here. Connor, what's your thoughts? Orlando versus Houston.
Yeah, with Fultz out, Fultz out and Gordon, that's big. Michael Carter-Williams is out till the 15th. I don't know where Orlando scores. And then Houston banged up as well. They got their own problems. This one I stayed away from right away. I'd go with the Rockets here, but I don't want to lay 6.5. So it was a quick pass for me. And I'd lean, and the total, no real feel on that either at this number. It could go over or under. I didn't like it where it was at.
All right, so pass on the side, pass on the total. Yeah, I mean, Orlando, yes, definitely short-handed, but this is where I'm hoping. Come on, Cole Anthony. Come on, James Ennis. Terrence Ross, former Raptor. Yeah. Come on. These are the guys that are going to have to step up here for Orlando here tonight in this one. Obviously, they're short-handed, no question, but we'll dare Houston to win by margin here tonight, in my opinion. Skee, what's your thoughts here, Orlando, Houston?
This one I liked before any injury news. This is a game I expected, or I saw everybody, the public wanted to come in and back Orlando. They were backing Orlando from the start. The only reason any Houston money came in is because of the injury news to Aaron Gordon. So this is a spot where majority of the public came in early back in Orlando. And I had a system played to fade the public, and it was on Houston in this one. But outside of that, what has Orlando done? I mean, I'm not even going to mention, first off, they're down Fultz and Gordon. Even with those players, what have they done? They won the first game versus Miami. Maybe Miami was sleepwalking after barely having any time off. They got blown out by Philadelphia, and they played 6 games versus bottom-tier teams. And they play tomorrow. Houston is not a bottom-tier team. And Orlando's now down Fultz and Gordon. I don't see any way that they can keep up. John Wall and Harden to Cole Anthony, and we don't even know if Fournier is going to be in the lineup.
Yeah, he's game time.
Who's going to guard Wall? Who's going to guard Harden? I don't see it. And if Christian Wood plays, it's a smash spot. I like Houston.
All right, like in the Rockets, yeah. I mean, this is just this. To be honest with you, and the concerns are warranted on the Orlando side. This is the injury situation, the injury angle that maybe it's not going to work this well, and it's not going to work every single time. But again, with the Orlando team that has given a hell of an effort most nights. Granted, schedule is part of it. They have played a week or so. They played Cleveland a bunch. That certainly helped the schedule. A bunch of teams that you wouldn't expect to be playoff teams. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm still worried that the chemistry and the cohesion is not there for Houston to want to lay points with them. We'll see how this one goes. Next up, we've got Brooklyn and Memphis. Memphis 1-point home favorites, 218.5 the total with the Nets and the Grizzlies. I'm not going to say much about this game because I think it's really tough. I mean, this Kyrie Irving situation is a head scratcher. I mean, they're obviously going to keep things pretty quiet as to what the exact reason is that all of a sudden he needs a temporary absence from the team. But nevertheless, it's definitely been it didn't impact them last night. But, now you've got the situation where everybody stepped up with no Kyrie and no Kevin Durant. And now you're playing back-to-back, going on the road now against Memphis. So I don't know if I love this situation for Brooklyn, but I don't know if I love the idea of Memphis asking them to win a basketball game against a team that I don't think is they're as good as. So that's the issue here in this game with Memphis. And you saw Memphis last night struggle with the Cavaliers. That's definitely something you got to be worried about. It is back-to-back for them as well. So we'll have to wait and see how this one goes. But a lot of variables both ways. I'm staying off it completely. Conor, your thoughts here? Nets, Grizzlies.
Yeah, this one's ugly. You just nailed it. A lot of variables here. Yeah, off the back-to-back. And what about Kyrie? All the drama's already coming. Supposedly he's texted his teammates, but Steve Nash doesn't know. I didn't talk to him. The Kyrie. I told you, and they were having fun high-fiving that first game with Durant and everything. I was like, they better take a picture of that because I don't think it's going to last throughout the year.
Yeah. Didn't last 2 days.
I'd be a little bit with the Nets, but I don't love it. This was one I didn't have a feel either way. I don't like it. Bet for style to bet, Memphis -1. I don't even want to lay a point right now with Memphis. So it'd be the Nets or pass.
Yeah, Preston makes a good point in the chat. Maybe under the total because Philly's good offensively. Brooklyn, we know, plays fast. That's the Nash D'Antoni way. We get that. But their defense has actually been a little bit better at times than I thought. And their defense may only need to be good tonight against Memphis, who aren't exactly gifted offensively. So maybe the move toward the under does make a little bit of sense here with Brooklyn versus Memphis. Skee, any thoughts on this game from you?
Until you see John Morant in a jersey, until you see Jaren Jackson Jr. in a jersey, I'm not laying any points with Memphis. Only way I'm looking is the other side. I think Brooklyn, every player I look at on the roster is better, and I trust them more than all of the guys on Memphis. Both teams played yesterday, so I don't think they're ready. I think that's kind of a wash. Only way I would play the side is Brooklyn, and I think it's kind of maybe overreaction. Yeah, Memphis had a little trouble scoring. They will have trouble scoring, but they played against the Cavs, and the Cavs been playing good defense versus everybody. So I think the Nets can score points, and they'll probably force Memphis to have to try and keep up and score. So I think I can get over the total.
All right, leaning with the Nets and the over. Keep in mind, all the headlines are Tyler Johnson out too for the Nets, but the headlines are Kyrie and Kevin Durant not playing tonight. What does that mean? You know what that means? This reverts back to the Brooklyn Nets bubble version, essentially last year of this team, which played pretty damn good, if you can remember, in the bubble last season in Orlando when they had to go with Joe Harris a lot more, when they had to go with Karis LeVert as the primary scoring option for the Brooklyn Nets, when they had to rely more on Jared Allen's offense in the low post. Guys like that were able to step up. Taurean Prince is capable. They've got off the bench Timothé Luwawu-Cabarrot. I think he's had some good games even for this Brooklyn Nets team. So this is a Brooklyn team that without Kyrie and KD, people just, whoa, what are they going to do? Well, still won last night against a pretty good Philly team. And these guys banded together, no KD, no Kyrie last year, and still played pretty solid basketball at times, Brooklyn, with Harris and with Karis LeVert. And everybody with elevated minutes, elevated responsibility. So you got to be careful with that with this team. They have shown the ability to still win basketball games without Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They're not the be-all, end-all of the Brooklyn Nets team. We saw that last year. We saw that last night. Maybe we see it again tonight as they face Memphis. Next up, Toronto, Sacramento. We've got the Raptors, 5-point road favorites here in Sacktown, 225 the total in this game. We've seen a lot of money, some money at least, come in on the Raptors a little bit here. Sacramento, certainly a team that's going through their issues, their struggles right now. De'Aaron Fox, a game-time decision tonight, which is obviously the significant injury for the Sacramento Kings. We'll have to wait and see what his status is going to be. Toronto Raptors, 5-point road favorites. It's dubious to be laying 5 with them on the road. You're talking about a 1-6 team, both straight up and against the spread, and a team that's 0-4 straight up and against the spread on the road this year. So, and now you're being asked to lay 5 with them against this Sacramento team. I think the best way to approach this is because I actually saw some positives with the Raptors despite the loss to Phoenix. Pascal Siakam played his best game of the year. He did. And it's not going to look that way because they still lost the game against the Phoenix Suns the other night. But They actually played better. It's not going to look like it on the final score. And unfortunately for the Raptors, they ran into Phoenix just shooting the lights out, shooting insane from 3-point range. And that was the difference in the game. And Phoenix just had this 3-point assault, particularly in the second half. And then it was game over from that point on, when I honestly did see improvement from this group, even though it didn't result in the W. I don't know if I trust this team's 48-minute performance, because we've seen some bad second halves. We've seen some bad fourth quarters from the Toronto Raptors this year, which is totally atypical, of what we've seen from this team the last 2 years when they've been one of the best teams in the NBA. So I like Toronto here, but in the first quarter with the -1.5, and maybe in the first half as well. And that's as far as I'm going. I think the Raptors come out fast, come out strong. It's a desperate bunch. I like the way they came out strong against Phoenix. Let's not forget they had a good first quarter against Phoenix, good first half against Phoenix, and then things started to fall apart for the Raptors in the second half. So I'm going to bank on a good effort, strong effort from the beginning for a desperate 1-6 team against a beatable, in my opinion, Sacramento team. So I'm going to like Raptors first quarter and first half in this game. Not full game. I'm not laying the 5. I'm not touching that -5. But I like the Raptors early in this one, first quarter, first half. Conor, your thoughts here, Raptors game?
I'd be with the Kings here. Fox or no Fox, I want to take the 5 points. I think Toronto not being home, playing in Tampa, I think that's just going to get to them all year. I think the team gets better as the season goes along. But you're right, the defense, that's what they were so great last year, is that, they're on the defensive end, they've looked horrible, especially lapses, like you said. They haven't been able to play a complete game, 4 quarters. It's just been a mess. So you might be right. Raptors come out hot. I know when this came out, it looks funny. The Raptors are favored by 5. The line's kind of weird. But I want to take the Kings. Kings had a couple really nice wins to start out, lost 3 in a row, bounced back with the Bulls. I'll take the 5 here, and I lean towards the over because the Kings aren't really great defensively, and the Raptors, especially not at home, which really they don't have a real home this year, but on the road, I think this can get over 225.
Yeah, the more I look at it, the more I really like the Raptors early. First quarter, first half. I'm looking at their results. Good first quarter, first half in the first game of the season for them against New Orleans, but lost the game. Good first quarter, first half against San Antonio, but lost the game. Good first quarter and first half against Philadelphia for the Raptors, but lost the game. But they were good early in the first 24 minutes of that game. New York was the one exception. They were good throughout, and that was the one game they won. New Orleans Pelicans on the road. Again, good first quarter, first half, couldn't hold it. Toronto against Boston. Well, second quarter got away from them a bit, but first quarter was good. I think they split first quarter, first half results. And then against Phoenix the other night, good first quarter, pretty solid first half. So that's been the pattern. They've been good early, bad late. And I think you're going to get at least the good early part from the Raptors tonight. At least I hope so. Skee, what's your take here with Toronto, Sacramento?
If De'Aaron Fox was in, I would for sure be in on whatever they're offering on the Kings. Halliburton has been balling too, but I like both of them. I like him off the bench, so they don't have any. I don't know. I'm blanking out on the word, but I just like to have Fox in, and then you can have Halliburton in controlling everything. I don't want one or the other. So it's kind of tough to get there with Sacramento, but at the same time, Toronto's another team that it's no way that I'm laying with them right now. So only way I can play this game is from the side to back Sacramento with the +5 and the total. If De'Aaron Fox is in, I probably would run to the window and bet the over. Kings as a dog, higher than 218, going back to last year, over 18, 7-2. So if he's in, I probably will be on the over here.
All right, yeah, 225. Sacramento's another one of those teams. They've you look at their totals results, by the way, 4-1 to the over in their last 5 games. 152 against Chicago, 252, I should say, against Chicago. 243 against Golden State, 241 in a game against Houston, 240 against Denver. So they've had some real high scoring affairs, and Fox obviously makes them a much better and fluid offensive team. So I can see why Skee would like over if he ends up playing tonight for Sacramento. Next up, we've got the LA Clippers and Golden State Warriors. Again, one of these back-to-back games involving the same two teams in the same building as well. New Oracle there in San Francisco. We've got the Clippers 6.5, 7-point road favorites, 229 the total. Here's the problem. I had the Clippers the other night, and I was getting a nice little, number there below, it was pick 'em. It got up to 2.5, 3. It closed -5 when it was definitely known that Kawhi Leonard was going to play. And it was a great number, a great situation with the Clippers off a loss to the Spurs. And they got the job done. It was ideal. It was just the way I was hoping it would be. It was actually my best bet on this show on Wednesday night was the Clippers against Golden State. I don't like it as much tonight. Now they're laying a bigger number. Now they're not off a loss that made them angry. They're off a nice win. They're playing the same team again. And now it's Golden State's turn potentially to be the team that's a little bit hungry and wanting to bounce back after a tough night the other night against the Clippers. So the situation was much better for LA last time around from an injury standpoint. It looks like so far so good. Looks like everybody's accounted for. Everybody's healthy, and everybody, at least for now, expected to play. Of course, this is a late tip-off, so things can always change, and you know that because this is the NBA after all. As for the Golden State Warriors, obviously the question mark revolves around, of course, Steph Curry. Ankle concerns coming into this game. He's been downgraded from probable to questionable was the latest update we've gotten. He tweaked his ankle in that Wednesday night game against the Clippers. He might miss this game. If I had to put a guess on it and a hunch of what Steve Kerr might do, he might rest Steph Curry in this situation. And, if Steph Curry doesn't play, makes it difficult for me to want to back the rest of these Golden State Warriors with what I've seen from them throughout the course of the early part of the season. So it's a really difficult game right now. I'm currently passing on it. Connor, what's your thoughts? Clippers, Warriors.
Yeah, it's a difficult spot here. Without Curry, it's too much up in the air. And then him getting downgraded. If he was in, I'd like Golden State at getting 7 here. The Clippers just been so up and down. They look like they're the best team in basketball, and then they just can play way down to their competition. Kind of like how Skee, you were talking about the Celtics. Clippers can do that, not as much, but to some of these teams, these lower teams. So wait on Curry. He's out. I'd lean the Clippers at 6.5. I don't love it. And the total, Golden State's so bad defensively. I think they get better. Draymond's back, but no real feel on the total at 229, and especially with Curry out. So just a kind of a waiting game. I think he's going to sit this one out. But just keep watching this injury report, right before tip-off to find out. You got to stay real on top of all these games. And you're right, it's a late tip, so 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. So
it kind of has that sense that we're not going to know Steph's status till like 30 minutes before the game shoot-around, right before the game. And then that's when you're going to find out if he's going to be in or not. Now, it's downgraded to questionable. It's not downgraded to he was probable, and now he's questionable. It's not questionable to doubtful. So there is still a shot he can play tonight. But we're going to find out because he's important, because they don't want to take any risks or any unnecessary chances. That's why my hunch is he may not play. But again, this isn't confirmed as of right now. Skee, what's your impression right now with this one? Clippers, Golden State.
Yeah, if Curry's out, Clippers probably win by double digits, and the game likely stays under because the pace won't be there for Golden State, and the shooting, in my opinion, won't be there. And if Curry's in, I like Golden State because, like you said, it's a different spot for the Clippers. They're not pissed off anymore, and now it's the Warriors' turn. So it all revolves around what Steph Curry's doing for me. If I had to guess, I would just say just because this is my only reason, just because it's on ESPN and they're off that loss too, I would say he plays if he's not too hurt. So I would lean more towards Golden State, just thinking he's going to play.
All right. Thinking he's going to play, and in that case, leaning to the Golden State side here, getting a pretty good number, 7, 6.5. If you've just got that, sixth sense right now, anyone watching, that Curry's going to play, lock in Golden State now, because the moment that news comes out, that number's taking a tumble. So if you think he's going to play or just have that just that gut feel that he might suit up tonight for the Warriors. It wouldn't hurt you to lock in Golden State now because you know that number will drop if he doesn't play. We wrap up with Skee's LA Lakers, who are trying to bounce back after the loss to the Spurs last night. They're taking on the Chicago Bulls. The Lakers, 9.5 point home favorites here, 223 the total. I think Chicago is going to be potentially one of these little teams that might be, you know what, might be a decent team to back getting points, even when they play better competition. We saw signs of that. They've had a nice little run from a point spread standpoint their last few games. They're actually 4-1 ATS on the road this year, the Chicago Bulls. So I give them a lot of credit. And keep in mind, this is a Chicago Bulls team that hasn't exactly had their full complement of players. Lauri Markkanen, Chandler Hutchison, Thomas Satoransky, Ryan Arcidiacono. I mean, it's been several key contributors for the Bulls that have missed the last few games, and yet here they are. They're still finding ways to be competitive here, and you got to give Billy Donovan credit. I've said it. The strength of his coaching is his ability to relate to and work with younger players, and that's definitely what we're kind of seeing here from him with Chicago. From a Lakers standpoint, I typically don't love betting against them off a loss. That's usually not the time you want to step in front of the defending NBA champions, but it is a back-to-back for them after playing last night, albeit, no travel, same building. It's just another home game for them. LeBron and Anthony Davis, I think, are going to play, but Kentavious Caldwell-Pope missed last night, game time decision tonight, and he's significant. Like this guy is an undervalued piece of this Laker team. Let's be honest. I mean, and I thought he played very well in that championship run for the LA Lakers last year in the bubble in Orlando. So that's a guy they missed. That's right. And Kobe White is a bucket right now. There's no question about that. Kobe White has shot. Zach LaVine, throw him in that mix too. They have shot the ball very well the last few games for the Chicago Bulls. I'm kind of leaning Bulls, even though I don't love betting against the Lakers off a loss here. So that's that's the way I would go here. Still, is Chicago here. It's a lot of points here, 9.5 with the way they've fought the last several games, and just really gave good effort against some pretty decent competition as well. Conor, what do you think here? Bulls, Lakers?
Yeah, if LeBron and AD are in and it's under 10, like it's right now 9.5, I'm on the Lakers. I don't like laying a lot more than 10. Like you already talked about, the back-to-back, all that stuff. Chicago still have those guys out. Levine's balling, like you said, and White. If one of them are out, maybe take the Bulls, but they're not very good defensively. The Lakers should get what they want here. So just watch and see on LeBron and AD. But I have to lean with the Lakers. If they're in, I think they bounce back. They could cover this 9.5.
Yeah. That's all. That's the. If I'm going in for a little small bet on Chicago, like I am in this game, that's my biggest fear off the loss last night, and everybody's playing for the Lakers, and maybe they even get a KCP back, which is not for sure, but a possibility. Then I worry maybe a little bit more about Chicago in that situation. But what Skee thinks? Skee's got a good pulse on the Lakers usually. What do you think here with them and the Bulls tonight?
I'm kind of thinking the other way. Well, if I have to choose like who's going to play and who's not, I would say probably Anthony Davis would play, and if somebody sits, it's more likely to be LeBron. And on this game, if one of them sits or both of them sit, I would like the Lakers. But if they both play, I think it's going to be too many points to cover. Bulls have been scrappy. Lakers on a back-to-back, but Bulls also third game in 4 nights. But Bulls 6-1 against the spread. Yeah. I think Bulls need a little bit of respect on that point spread. So the only way I would play against them right here is if I'm getting a discount. And the only way I'm going to get that discount is if LeBron and Anthony Davis don't play. So that's the only way I'm looking to play the Lakers. If it's as is or if they're both playing, I will play the Chicago Bulls to cover.
So interesting take there. If LeBron and AD play, kind of like Chicago, Skee, if they don't play and this line ticks down, and obviously if one or both don't play tonight, you're going to see the Lakers just get all the way down, probably to maybe even 5. They could drop as low as that, maybe even more than that. That's a discount on the Lakers at that time because, again, here we go. The injury situation, talked about it with Philly. I could go on and on. Philly Brooklyn last night's just one of many examples. Everybody would flock to bet Chicago with no LeBron, no AD, or both of them. And here come this young, hungry Lakers team with some of the greatest depth of any team, by
Exactly.
the way, in the NBA this season with the additions they made. I love the depth, and I said that in my article. I wrote an article for the NBA. Every team, just
And
a little
that,
piece. Look at the depth at every position they have this year. The Lakers, they could survive that and win games, especially against a decent to below average team like Chicago.
and if you watch the last game the Lakers played last night, I mean, honestly, I feel like if LeBron and Anthony Davis didn't play that game, Lakers would have been better off. I mean, they showed up in the third quarter, but the energy wasn't there. It didn't look like LeBron necessarily even really cared either. So I know if the young guys or the new guys are the ones getting majority of the play time, the energy is going to be there, and I think they're still better than the Chicago team.
What I might do, because I did bet Chicago, as I just mentioned, plus 9.5. If one or both are out, take the Lakers at the better number and maybe get a middle. Who the hell knows? It's something that I can certainly have the potential and the option now to do with a good number on Chicago.
Yeah.
If there's guys missing for the Lakers like LeBron and AD, and get a really deflated number on the Lakers and maybe look for a middle. So definitely some options at my disposal now. If Frank Vogel decides to give one or two or both of his superstars the night off tonight as they take on Chicago. All right, so that's the Friday card. We've gotten through every single game. Great stuff. Reminder that the three of us, the three amigos, I'll say, Skee, Conor, and I, we're back tomorrow, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, with the NFL Wildcard Weekend closing time show. We'll get through all 6 wildcard weekend games tomorrow on the Saturday show. We'll break down the 3 Saturday and 3 Sunday NFL games. So make sure you join us for that. I'm looking forward to NFL wildcard weekend. These are when the games, you got the intensity, drama. It's win or go home from here on out in the NFL. So looking forward to that show tomorrow, breaking down wildcard weekend. Conor, before we get to best bets to wrap up the show, do our sponsors have any announcements for us today?
Oh, yeah. Everyone in the chat, we all need another book. You need multiple books. Go to mybookie.ag, hit promo code PubSports, and debit or credit, you get 50% off, and Bitcoin, you get 100%. So you put 1,000, give you 1,000. Debit or credit, you put 1,000, they give you 500. Go to bulksupplements.com, hit promo code PubSports, you get 10% off. Get jacked up for the fall. Get all the vitamins you need to fight off this virus. Get all the shit to get you jacked up in the gym. All that good stuff. Also, go to Wolf Spreads. I'm going to hit them up. Football's ending. We got Wild Card Weekend you just talked about. So get that. Download the app. Even though it's the end of the year, you can have it for next year. So you get $2K to bet with. Bet on one game. Bet on multiple games. Once you get in, hit Pub Sports Battle Royale. And if you win at the end of the week, and shout out to my guy Big Show, won 3 times. He loves it. I shout him out. You win a bunch of PSR merch. We got shirts, sweatshirts, hats, all that good shit. So check it out. Get all those. Have fun. Bet responsibly.
And bet responsibly, yes. And you're not splitting the atom, figuring out Big Show has put in more time and effort with that kind of stuff than I have. You're not a genius figuring that one out. Yeah, and with that's why I keep myself all nice and covered up. Nobody needs to see anything of the physique standpoint from yours truly. College basketball. Someone is asking a question here because we're not doing the college show. I'll just throw out one college play that I like. It's a total. It's FIU Middle Tennessee over the total. It's up to 150 now. I still think it can get into the 150s. I'll be honest. I had a miserable night in college basketball last night. I had a great night in NBA last night, but college basketball was not very good. So I'm keeping it light today, but I do like that FIU Middle Tennessee over the total in college basketball today. Best bets. Let's go to it. Let's start with you, Conor Mack. NBA best bet for this Friday night.
Ooh, I like this under. I'm going to go with the over in Wizards Celtics. I just think with the big guys out, I think points are scored. I think that one we can get to tonight. Even though it's gone up 3 points, it's not, even at 236. Give me the over, Wizards Celtics.
All right, Wizards Celtics over the total. Let's see what the best number is right now. 236. Yeah, there is still some 236s. I see 236.5 now popping up. So this total just keeps going up. We'll lock it in for you, Conor, at 236. Washington, Boston over 236. Skee, what do you got for us? Best bet.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm gonna stay on the same game with Connor. I said I liked it the most on the slate earlier, and I still feel that way. I bet this game at +6. I still like it wherever it's at right now. I think it's +4.5.
4.5.
But back Washington on the road, back Washington against good teams, fade the Celtics versus lesser teams, and fade all teams coming off that 4-game road trip at home. So I like the Wizards tonight. It's my best bet.
Washington Wizards +4.5 against Boston. Skee Profit's best bet. And yeah, for this spot for Boston, think about it. Toronto and Miami back to back, and Miami again over the weekend, and you got this game in between. Yeah, smells like a little bit of a FLAT flat spot with a capital F potentially for the Celtics tonight. So Skee liking Washington here +4.5 against the Celtics, and I'm gonna go with the nearby locals tonight for my best bet, but I'm only going with them in the first quarter. We're going Toronto Raptors -1.5 first quarter against Sacramento.
Right.
Hey, they've been killing first quarters. That's the one thing they've done well all this year is play a good first 12 minutes of a basketball game. They've been a consistent good starter, poor finisher. Hopefully that's the case tonight. And coming off another frustrating loss against Phoenix, I would expect that Nick Nurse's team to have a good start, focused start, energetic start to this game. I don't trust them for the full 48, but give me Toronto here, -1.5 in the first quarter against Sacramento. We'll go with that for my best bet on this Friday NBA card. That'll wrap it up, guys. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Appreciate all of you guys watching. It's a great turnout, almost 100 viewers live. Appreciate it. We're back Saturday, the three of us with the NFL show for Wildcard Weekend, 9 a.m. Pacific. Conor and I before that, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific with the college basketball closing time show. Oh, and we'll also throw in some Alabama, Ohio State national championship talk on the college basketball closing time show tomorrow as well. So looking forward to that. For Skee Profit, for Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy the NBA card. Enjoy the games and good luck. Have a great weekend. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Pubs